Hello, folks. This is your host, George the Drunken Animal. Today I'm going to be doing a retro Schnockerd wrestling review. I've decided I was going to go ahead and check out WWE Backlash 1999. Yeah, well, this is going to be a rough one. This took place April 25th, 1999, right 1 month after WrestleMania 15. And this was pretty much the height of the Attitude Era. And anybody who swears that the Attitude Era was nothing but the greatest stuff ever, go back and watch this crap. This was 2.5 hours of pure sports entertainment. This was nothing but sports entertainment of the day, highlighted by just the main event saved this show, period. That's all I can say. It's the main event saved this show, because everything else on here really epitomized what the Attitude Era was. A little background: this appears to be taking place right at the height of the Undertaker's ministry run, but before the corporate ministry, before the reveal of the higher power. So, I forgot to help me make it through this crap, I've got some Kirin Oak Master Japanese whiskey, and I'm gonna need it for this, because this is gonna be a rough one. So let's see here. We'll go back and see what we got here, just so I can. Your first match of the evening, 6-man tag. The Brood, Edge, Christian, and Gangrel versus the Ministry, which was the Acolytes, Bradshaw and Farouk before they became the APA, with Midian. Now, apparently, leading up to this match, in the weeks prior, the Ministry had kidnapped Ken Shamrock's sister, Ryan Shamrock, and were holding her somewhere, whatever. Ken had gotten a hold of Christian and was beating the hell out of him, forcing him to reveal where Ryan was. Well, the Undertaker was none too happy with this, and decided to exact revenge by beating the hell out of Christian on Raw one week. And Edge and Gangrel decided, you know what, no, this has gone too far, we don't want this shit. So this was the beginning of the face turn for the Brood, and probably the close to the beginning of the end for Gangrel, and the beginning of Edge and Christian as a solo tag team. You would think with the people involved this would be a decent match. It was okay, it was just boring as hell. This was, again, the main theme throughout this show is sports entertainment. And this was a whole lot of the Acolytes, Bradshaw and Farouk, just beating the fuck out of everybody wherever they could. Midian getting his whatever crap he could get in. And then, oh fuck, that's good. Oh boy. Yeah, oh shit. Then the Brood getting a few hope spots here and there. In came when Christian had just been thrown out of the ring after getting a near fall on Bradshaw. He dove out of the ring, taking out everybody. And then Viscera, they said he ran in and squashed Christian against the edge of the ring. Ran is a very, very generous term for what he did. He trundled down and squashed Christian, threw him into the ring, clothesline from hell from Bradshaw, And that was the end of that. Then the next match was, I want to say, was that the hardcore title match? You had Hardcore Holly, who was the hardcore champion, versus Al Snow with Head. One thing, this show was taking place in Providence, Rhode Island, and it looked like a fairly small arena. The entryway really reminded me of the old ECW style entryway, very small. The Brood, who usually had their rise through the stage with the smoke and everything, didn't even get that. They just kind of came out to their creepy music. So, this was... you could tell this was just they were just starting. WWE was just starting to finally get a little bit bigger, and being in Providence, Rhode Island, didn't help much. This crowd, quite frankly, sucked. They didn't really get involved in a whole lot of things as far as the matches go themselves. But anyway, back to the hardcore match between Holly and Al Snow with Head. If you've seen one hardcore Holly Al Snow match, you've pretty much seen them all. It was a whole lot of brawling around and fighting throughout the arena and everything. They even fought into the production truck at one point. Al throws Holly outside of the truck and does an elbow drop on the top of somebody's car. And at one point, I swear to God, they did this just so they could get this one stupid joke in. Holly somehow or another grabs a sink just so JR can say, "Look, he's going to hit him with the kitchen sink." And of course, Al Snow does something to reverse it. I think he sprayed him in the face with a water hose or something, causing him to drop it. And then JR gets another line of, what was it? Something along the lines of, "The porcelain gods are not going to be happy," or some stupid shit. Yeah, the commentary was on most of the shit was just, it wasn't good. It was the King at his sports entertainiest, and JR trying to do shit seriously and not having a whole lot to work with. So the end comes. They finally make it back into the ring. Holly gets Al Snow up, superplexes him through a table, and then they're both down and out. And JR rightfully points out that the referee is counting the 10 count for the wrestlers to get up. And JR goes, "Why is he counting? There is no count out in this. The ref shouldn't be counting. What the hell is he doing?" But the ref, oblivious to everything, continues to count. Eventually, they do both get up. Al Snow hits Holly with a frying pan. That doesn't do it. He manages to get Head, smack him right upside the head with it, and then pins Holly with the arm holding Head. This will come into play later when they're interviewing Al Snow, and Al Snow is in the bathroom or something, talking to Head, and then I'm sure they played it out for a while where Head was the hardcore champion because Head had told Al Snow, "Well, I'm the one who pinned Hardcore Holly, not you. You held me down onto him." It was your sports entertainment crap of the 90s. That's what this was. Then you have The Godfather with some of the ugliest goddamn hoes I've ever seen. Their bodies were okay, but there were a few of them that were, oh God, some of them were just very, very horseface ugly. I don't know what back alley Godfather dug these ones out from, but it wasn't one of his finer stables of hose that he would pick up. Let's put it that way. Versus Goldust, who apparently at this point had the Blue Meanie as a follower, who was going around calling him mommy, and I really don't want to know what the fuck this was all about. This just does not even seem... This, like I said, sports entertainment, folks. If you think shit's bad now, go back and watch some of this crap, and you will be begging for some of the shit that you see nowadays. Before the match, you get Blue Meanie doing Sable Spiel, but going, for all the women who want to, or all the men who want to be me, and all the women who came to see me, and then he does this grind, and oh Lord, yeah, this was not a good sight, not good at all, and apparently, see, what I can gather from this, Goldust had won a Fatal 4-Way at WrestleMania 15 to win the Intercontinental title, lost it 2 weeks later on Raw to The Godfather, and this is the rematch from that. And eventually, Meanie goes to throw something into Godfather's eyes. It misses, blinds Goldust. We have a bunch of comedy spots where Goldust thinks he's attacking Godfather and is actually attacking Blue Meanie. Ends up hitting Shattered Dreams on Blue Meanie, and leading to Godfather hitting the Pimp Drop Death Valley Driver and getting the pin. And yeah, not a good evening, folks. Not a good evening at all. Then you got a number one contender tag team match. The New Age Outlaws, Billy Gunn and Road Dogg, versus Owen Hart and Jeff Jarrett with Deborah's tits. Deborah. Yeah, with Deborah. Deborah comes out wearing a jacket and very little else underneath it. And the crowd could give two shits less about this entire match. It was all about Deborah's puppies the entire time. It was, again, sports entertainment, folks. You ain't seen nothing till you seen this crap. Eventually, after a bunch of shenanigans and whatnot, Owen's got Road Dogg in the sharpshooter. Jarrett's trying to get Billy Gunn in the figure four. Billy kicks him out the ring, nails a famouser on Owen Hart, and then gets the pin. After a couple of teases of Deborah trying to show her puppies, because that's all the crowd cared about this entire match, was show your puppies, show your puppies, show your puppies, and Jerry Lawler orgasming all over the place with puppy jokes left, right, and sideways. And then at the end of the match, New Age Outlaws do become number one contenders to the tag titles, which apparently are being held by Kane and X-Pac. And for whatever reason, they decide that we really need to see Billy Gunn's ass, so he drops his thing, and he was wearing a thong and shows his ass to everybody. Oh, God. Lord have mercy. I don't know how the hell I made it through this. Then you have the, quote, boiler room brawl between Big Show and Mankind. Apparently this was all about respect or some shit. And this was your typical Mankind boiler room brawl. They didn't have too many of these matches. I think I know he had the one with The Undertaker, and then this one, maybe one or two others. But the object of the boiler room brawl, of course, is you're locked into, quote, a boiler room. The only way to win is to be able to walk out of the boiler room on your own power. And it was a brutal match. I will tell you that. Some of the sick shit, I can see why Foley can barely move nowadays. This was very indicative of some of the shit he was putting himself through to get people over, and tried to make Big Show look like a big giant threat that he actually was. And this is really when Big Show was still in really good shape before he started ballooning up, and he actually did look pretty good in here. But your typical hardcore, this boiler room is probably the largest boiler room I've ever seen. It had a kitchen in it. It had I want to say it maybe even had some cars parked in it. It basically was a backlot brawl type. I don't know why they call it a boiler room brawl, but eventually, after Mankind gets thrown through a bunch of glass and Big Show gets thrown through glass, Mankind's bleeding all over the place. He manages to dump a whole bunch of pipes all on top of Big Show, and manages to make it out of the door, where Teddy Long, who was the referee, declares him the winner. Out of nowhere, Test and Big Boss Man show up. They were part of the corporation at the time, and they throw Foley back in, start beating on him. And for some reason, Big Show takes offense at them beating the hell out of the guy he was just beating the hell out of, and he takes both of them out, chokeslams Boss Man, I want to say, and leaves Test laying. Mankind recovers and then puts the mandible claw, or Mr. Sacco, on Test, and yeah, I'm sure this was leading up to something. I don't know what. I want to say this is probably leading up to the quote Union faction that had, I want to say, Mankind, Big Show, Ken Shamrock, and somebody else. I don't remember who else was involved in that ill-fated fiasco. But the Union was going to be a foil to the corporation. Then let's see, what was the next match after that? Let's see here. Hold on. It was the Triple H versus X-Pac match. Now, apparently X-Pac had made his return again, became part of DX, did something to piss off Triple H. And then this was another nothing match. It was, but it was Triple H back showing his the beginnings of the game persona, where he had him and China had double teamed X-Pac throughout the match and did a bunch of shit. All of a sudden, Kane comes out to save X-Pac. He chokeslams both Triple H and China, leaves them both in the corner while X-Pac had been laying out in the ring. X-Pac gets up, looks around, sees those two laid out. He goes, hits a Bronco Buster on Triple H, hits a Bronco Buster on China. So mind you, Triple H has just taken a chokeslam and a Bronco Buster. And then X-Pac turns around. Triple H gets up, pedigrees him, and 1, 2, 3, it's over. So, yeah, this was the beginning of Triple H doing shit like this. And the match, like I said, it was not a nothing match. It was just a whole lot of Triple H beating down X-Pac and X-Pac fighting back, showing his fortitude and whatnot, but eventually Triple H does what Triple H does. Then what should have been a really good match, or had the makings of being a really good match, but the crowd just could give two shits less about. You have The Undertaker versus Ken Shamrock. Again, now remember, this is The Undertaker is running the ministry, and they've yet to reveal the quote higher power. He's talking throughout the show about we need to make a good showing. The higher power is going to come out soon, and we need to show our solidarity, whatever, blah, 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 blah. And so, like I said, apparently they had kidnapped Ryan Shamrock, and Ken took offense to that. They beat him down, so it led to this match. And the crowd, I can understand why they would, because this is the type of match that did not go over well in 1999, because Shamrock was trying to wrestle a shoot UFC submission style match. So there was a lot of what nowadays people would call rest holds, but which should rightly be called submission moves and wear down holds, and trying to the small man versus the big man dynamic, where the small man he's not going to be able to go one-on-one with somebody the size of The Undertaker. And The Undertaker was still jacked back then. He was still looking really good. Remember, this is 99, so that was 17 years ago. So he was still doing good, but Shamrock constantly pulling out submission moves and stuff, and the crowd just starts chanting boring throughout the match. The crowd just killed this entire match. And the story of the match, like I said, was Shamrock trying to work The Undertaker's leg. He was trying to be able to get his ankle lock on and get The Undertaker to tap, which at this point he'd never done. He hadn't tapped out to anybody at this point. So that was the story of this match. And eventually you see the most ridiculous thing ever, where Ken Shamrock is going to try to tombstone The Undertaker. And Ken Shamrock is in no way, shape, or form big enough to attempt to tombstone The Undertaker whatsoever at this point. It just looked ridiculous as he tried to get him up and into the tombstone position, and you knew exactly what was going to come. Undertaker reverses it, nails his own tombstone, gets the pin. Partway through the end of the match, you got Bradshaw coming out with a baseball bat and just kind of standing outside the ring menacingly with it. And after Taker gets the tombstone, he tells Bradshaw to finish it, and Bradshaw takes the baseball bat, slams him in the gut a few times, slams him in the ribs, just leaves him laying in the middle of the ring. So now we get the main event. The main event is the only thing that really saves this entire show. And it's The Rock versus Stone Cold Steve Austin, who's the WWF champion at the time, for the title, with Shane McMahon being the special referee. Now, apparently on Sunday Night Heat, before the show, they kept talking about how Shane had come out and said it was going to be a no DQ match, but if Stone Cold laid a hand on him as the referee, he was going to DQ him and award the title to The Rock. And throughout the show, they're teasing dissension between Shane and Vince. And Shane had come out and said, no, I'm dedicating this to my grandfather, Vincent J. McMahon. I have no father. He's Vince to me now. I'm but if Austin does manage to pin The Rock 1, 2, 3, I will count the 3 count. I'm dedicating this to my grandfather, yada yada yada. So and they were talking throughout the show how Vince and Stephanie were going to be in the skybox watching or whatever. So this was a really good no DQ match between The Rock and Austin. This, like I said, this is the only match that saved this show whatsoever. They had a lot of really good spots. Took out the Spanish announce table. I want to say they took out the regular announce table. They did. One of the other good things they did in the lead up to the match, they were doing some of the promos and stuff, and I'd forgotten about where The Rock had supposedly thrown the Stone Cold smoking skull belt into a river, and then chucked Austin into the river, and then chucked his belt in after him, and then came out on Raw to do his dearly trailer park crash, I'm here to bury Stone Cold Steve Austin promo. If you've never seen that, go look that one up. This was The Rock at his finest, trash talking corporate champ at the time. It was hilarious. And then eventually you had The Rock throw Stone Cold into Shane, but Shane decided no, he didn't want to do that. He wanted The Rock to actually pin Stone Cold, so he let the match go on. He leveled Austin with a belt shot at one point, and then went to drag The Rock over and to pin Austin, but Austin managed to kick out. Austin hits a stunner, goes for the pin. Shane goes down 1, 2, flips Austin off, walks off, says, "Screw you, I'm not counting the pin." One of the other great things I forgot before the end of the match, the most hilarious part, The Rock gets on the grabs the Spanish announce tables headsets and starts doing commentary on his own match, which is just great. And then he manages to go grab a camera and starts filming himself beating on Austin. He turns the camera around, and all of a sudden you just see Austin pop up, flip off the camera, and hit a stunner on The Rock. So you got a first-person shot of being what it looks like to be stunned by Austin. That was great. Then as Shane's walking away, Vince comes out with Earl Hebner. He'd left Stephanie. He told her to stay in the limo. The limo was being guarded by his security and whatnot. That he told them to just stay there, protect her, do not let anything happen to her. So he comes out with Earl Hebner and the smoking skull belt, which Shane had taken away and locked in a safe at the beginning of the match. Lays out Shane. Austin eventually hits a stunner again and gets the pin on The Rock, retaining his title. So this was the time when Vince was actually more trying to be a babyface, more sympathetic type thing, where the ministry had been messing with him and torturing him and everything, and so now Vince has decided to align himself with Austin and help Austin retain his title. And then just at the end of the show, you get one of the most classic shots in all of WWE history. You have Stephanie in the limo. The ministry comes out to surround the limo. The security is holding him out, tells him to drive away. Stephanie's like, no, wait for Vince, wait for Vince. You see the limo pull off, and she's screaming, stop, wait for my dad. The partition rolls down, and you get the Undertaker looking back going, where to, Stephanie? And that's how the show ended. So, once again, not a good show overall. The main event saved the whole damn thing. It was this, like I said, anybody who swears that the Attitude Era was the greatest ever, I dare you to watch this pay-per-view and then come back and tell me how great the Attitude Era was, because this show was nothing but Attitude Era, period. So, let me get my plugs out of the way. You got, I want to plug Joshua Baker's Beer and Song of the Day. He just had a really good show highlighting Freddie Mercury. Had over 5,000 views, was trending on Facebook and Twitter. So make sure you check him out. If you're a Star Trek fan, check out Justin Dimmitt's Prosper. If you're a heavy metal fan, check out Heavy Metal and Booze with Kevin Sherman on Facebook. And of course, make sure you check out Richard and Tyler on the network. They're on the network podcast. They've got the On the Network podcast. They've got the On the Network Facebook group, and they've got the On the Network OnNetwork.com and the On the Network podcast Facebook. So if you search On the Network on Facebook, you'll find most of the links to all of that. So once again, this is your host, George the Drunken Animal, taking the 1, 2, 3 after doing the JOB. Peace out, hippies.